good things. We're talking about good things.
Yeah.
Do you think O.J. Simpson dying's a good thing?
No, I didn't say that. So I think that's. I just texted my husband. I was like, "Oh my God, did you hear O.J. Simpson died?" I think
this is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah,
I slept all day.
He passed away yesterday. I think he was relatively young. I think so. Rather
76.
than I wasn't thinking about yay or shoot. I was just thinking that's pretty young. I mean,
get your prostate checked, guys. By the way.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Prostate cancer, which is
and don't kill your wife.
Yeah. Well, and now it's like people
Allegedly.
are coming out. They're like, well,
karma?
I think he did kill 2 people, but because of
the guy,
So there's stuff coming out. But yeah, no, I was talking about good stuff because all over social media, there are stories of an older gentleman who is kind of stopping. Now, there's a little cautionary tale here, but there's an older gentleman stopping, people with younger children, asking if he can give them a gift. Now, my initial reaction would be like, no, get the hell out of there, right? But there were a couple people, and I guess he's, unassuming enough, and he brings up these homemade baby cradles with a baby doll for these little kids because his wife makes the blankets. He woodworks these little cradles. I just thought it was kind of a feel good.
Do the babies look like Chucky?
I didn't look at the baby dolls, but I would say that that's just a good, sweet thing that we need more of, right? And I'm not saying that accept a gift from a stranger, but I think this was a really sweet thing that's happening locally. Another good thing happening locally, the Booths
Clydesdale
had a what do you call it?
A baby
A
Clyde.
full. Finally had
foul ball.
Yeah.
Or chicken.
So do you remember when we had the conversation? I think it was you, Frankie, and I having the conversation about the giraffe.
Yes.
That was April the giraffe, who everybody had their eyes
This
on.
has been the Clydesdale watch.
Yes. I was like, man, you guys need to live stream this shit because I feel like people would tune in.
Mm-hmm.
But it was born, I think, this morning early, and it missed Jessica's birthday by one day.
Yeah.
So, but still cool. I mean, I think it's just.
I'm actually headed out there tomorrow.
Are
to
you?
do a little thing for it, maybe.
Cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just thought I would bring that up.
I mean, any chance I can go see a baby animal,
anything, I know. So cool. Anyway, congratulations on their new addition.
I'm asking them what they're naming it. I'm still hoping Baby Clyde.
It hasn't been disclosed yet?
Nope, I don't think so.
Secret.
Clyde, the Clydesdale. I'm going to guess that's been done.
Probably, but
what about
the
Dale?
Clydesdale alone? I think that's like it's one of the first Clydesdale births in the area. That's why it's kind of like
born. The farm over in Missouri is where they raised them for the brewery still. But I think that that farm, I believe, is in north central Missouri somewhere. It's not in St. Louis.
Okay.
So, but yeah, you're right. For our immediate area,
Quincy
sure,
area.
absolutely.
Pretty cool.
It's the liquor booth, Clydesdale.
I love it.
He just keep it there. Keep it at the liquor booth.
Just have a little mascot.
Build a barn.
Big mascot.
I like this idea.
That would be good. That is actually a really neat.
Isn't that cool? I was like, we got to talk about that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about one of the most iconic animals there is. When you see the commercials and the holiday commercials, especially as of late, they're absolutely beautiful animals. So, and they bring beer.
Ta-da.
It's the perfect animal.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Speaking of animals, I read David's Park District story.
Oh, yeah, that was interesting.
And about the dogs is what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Okay. You're welcome. There was loose dogs, and Mark Philpott made a proposal about getting the phones and whatnot, and that brought up the idea just recently. I don't know. I've been having my Ring camera go off every night, and I don't know, like we've zoomed in on it, and I was like, is it a fox? Is it a coyote? And now I'm like pretty sure it's a wolf. And somebody's like, it's not a wolf. There's no wolves in this area. If it was a wolf, you'd be on national news. But I still think it might be. Well, I showed it to somebody, and he said it's a dog goatee, like it's a cross between.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Quite possibly. Yeah. I don't know.
Most of the coyotes around here are, I believe.
Really?
A cross between a dog and a coyote.
A lot of the ones
I guess
around
a
town.
coyote is like very scared and skittish. This guy was
more aggressive.
But not when it comes to getting it on with a dog.
I guess not.
Well,
I don't
there you
know.
go. Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought that was interesting because there's like there really are a lot of like stray dogs, kind of, I guess, is a problem. And you wouldn't think about it. We always hear about the cat population, the fact that we have stray dogs is kind of interesting. I've been seeing this lady saying that she's had her dog missing, so I'm hoping this is her dog.
Yeah.
And maybe we
Yeah,
can bring them back together.
I'm a member of the Lost and Found, I forget the name of it, on Facebook, Adams County. So if you are friends with me on Facebook, you see me sharing these things all the time. And I feel like it is, I mean, there's always something running loose. Most of the time they are reconnected with their owners, thank goodness. But I do think that some people, unfortunately, do kind of drop their pets and then they kind of grow up a little more feral.
Wild?
Yeah. So who knows?
Yeah, feral dogs are a thing around here.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
It is crazy
to think about.
One time, I'll tell you this real quick story. So I was in Plainville with a friend, and we were driving her tracker like through, I think it's McCraney Creek, which is right there, and just a slew of wild dogs surrounded her Jeep Tracker, which then got stuck in the creek and flooded. So we were stuck in this Jeep Tracker with all of these dogs surrounding us, and no one believed us except for her dad, who came and saved us. So,
But did he see the dogs?
He did, but they ran off as soon as he got there because he had a big truck. But I think it was just like, I don't know. For a minute there, I thought it was our extracurriculars playing tricks with us. But I was like, I was like, listen, all three of us did not see the same thing, all these wild dogs. But yeah, so that's my story about wild dogs.
Our next guest, I met her originally because I was thinking about getting a tattoo of a portrait of my dog. This was before he actually passed.
Is this Chubbs?
Yes, this is Chubbs. But then I thought that was morbid, to get the portrait of him before he passed. And I still don't know if I'm sold on the idea, but I saw that for a while. It was kind of thing like where they did, that for some people is timeless.
Yeah.
But pet portraits was kind of a style of tattoos. Yeah. So I contacted her, and I don't know, I changed my mind and got something else. But
a lot of people get the nose boop or the little paw print, which I think is kind of cute.
The nose what?
The nose boop.
Like. Oh, okay.
He said.
Yeah.
He said.
He's like,
nose boob? What's a nose boob?
Boop.
I don't know what a nose boob is.
B-O-O-P.
Okay,
yeah, the
there
boop
we go.
of the nose. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Do you have any tattoos, Bob?
I have none. I will never have any. I just won't. It's just not my thing. Sorry.
It's all right. You don't have to apologize.
No.
To each their own, I say, in the tattoo world. They are permanent. They're also a form of expression and art. And I think that, you should definitely be sold on having one if you're going to get one. So
yeah, no doubt about it.
I'll draw something on you sometime. Yeah.
With the Sharpie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be really cool. Just to give you an artificial. Yeah, nothing. No, I haven't. I'm not like The Rock with all of the anything hidden or anything. So.
I think you'd look pretty cool with one, actually.
Yeah. Speaking of The Rock. With WrestleMania this weekend, we were discussing before, as I circle this back to OJ, when OJ was involved in the trial and the Bronco chase, the trial, was accused of killing his wife and Ron Goldman.
The glove.
That would be akin. Probably The Rock would be someone who that would be, if that happened now, that would be who it would be very much similar to. Because remember, that was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
1994. So go back 30 years.
Compared OJ and The Rock to
I compared their
he's trying to
his level
their
of fame.
status of celebrity.
So if this crime were to be committed today,
yes,
in order for it to be kind of understood in the realm of what and who OJ was back then, it would be The Rock committing that crime.
Rock or Peyton Manning. Those would be two people who
really?
would be very,
Peyton Manning?
yes. Yeah. Retired athlete. I mean, Rock's
still
not really retired, but still does a lot of commercials, all that kind of stuff. I
was like, The Rock is coming after you.
Yeah.
But O.J. Simpson, he retired in 1977, so he'd been retired for almost 20 years when this happened.
Yeah.
But he was still doing commercials. He was still working for NBC Sports. He'd done Monday Night Football for a year. He was still very much a part of our American culture when this all went down. So
how long did he spend in prison?
Well, it wasn't in prison for the actual crime that he was found not guilty for. He was in prison for robbery when he tried to go to a Las Vegas hotel and steal his own memorabilia back. That's what he got dinged for. And he was supposed to go for like 30 years, and then he got let out. And then he's been kind of active on Twitter and doing other stuff, and playing a lot of golf. But then the prostate cancer came by and said, time to go.
Yeah.
So
karma, maybe.
Yeah. But again, when you put it back and just look at the context of when he retired in 1977, he was one of the top 5 greatest football players to have ever played.
Yeah.
He was that good. And I'm old enough to remember watching him. So, but yeah, so now he tried to take the upstairs elevator, and they said, "You're wrong floor, sir." And went bam.
Yeah.
So
You think so?
that's just a guess.
Yeah, that could be. Hey, who knows?
I'm just speculating.
I don't remember
I don't
watching
think that's
him.
allowed.
I think I watched The Chase. I watched the infamous Chase, and I think I was in class when we.
I was at the Abbey. I was at the Abbey.
Really?
Ellen and I were at the Abbey with a bunch of people, and they had the NBA Finals on, and a bunch of people said, "Put it on! Put on the Chase! Put on the Chase!" And then NBC went split screen, so we had the best of both worlds. So
Yeah, it's definitely one of the few things I remember. Wasn't he going like pretty slow?
oh yeah, it was a low speed chase.
Yeah, he was just. Not
Yeah,
really
he was sitting
good.
in the back
Yeah.
of his Bronco. His buddy Al Cowlings was driving.
Yeah.
It was again.
And then Seinfeld did kind of like a reenactment type
it
thing
was
with it.
it was very
Done a couple.
It
Yeah.
was very surreal. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah. So that's that chapter has been closed, and we will now continue with. We were talking about tattoos earlier, and the ladies have a guest who is an expert in that field, and we'll be back with her right after this.
The Liquor Booth is your home for a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits. The Liquor Booth has 2 locations in Quincy, 3520 Broadway and 1500 North 12th Street. The Liquor Booth, where it's always happy hour.
A&B Properties is Quincy's largest apartment rental company with hundreds of units available. They offer short-term and long-term rentals with 1 up to 4 bedroom apartments. A&B Properties meets the needs of its tenants with care, compassion, and a quality of service that exceeds expectations. A&B Properties also has a convenient tenant app for you to do your payments or make repair requests. Give them a call today. A&B Properties, 217-919-8080, Quincy.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you for our lovely tattoos. So, if anyone watched the first road trip with Randy, was it the first one? It was the
Yes.
first one, yeah. We went and got tattoos at the Ramshorn Body Art Studio. And the whole process was not only fun and, of course, like,
So easy.
it was easy
You
and
made it so
informative.
easy.
And we didn't really, I guess I didn't really anticipate you kind of having all of the information. I thought we were just getting tattooed, right? But then you kept telling us all the things that we didn't really
Sorry, it
know.
was, like, way too
No, it
much.
was
It was
awesome.
wordy.
No, it was awesome.
We like not dead air, if you haven't noticed. We
Amen.
like to talk. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was perfect. Like, yeah, so check it out. I mean, we got the rundown of a lot of things on
Yeah.
there. And I really enjoyed it,
I
honestly.
did too. And I showed my girls my tattoo. So I got a tattoo of 2 little hearts. We
a
can
sweet
post
dolphin.
it.
No,
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
right. A little sweet dolphin jumping over them. No, but I had each of my girls draw a little heart and had them, had her kind of connect it. And not sure if you can see it, but it's really meaningful. My girls were thrilled. Everyone that I show is like, "That's so sweet." And although it may not be your favorite tattoo to tattoo. It was really meaningful, and the fact that I got to do it with Britt, of course, for Muddy River News makes it even that much more special. And of course, your tattoo is badass.
Thank you. I got
Yeah.
my olive leaf branch for when I extend my peace to people.
Your peace offering.
Yes,
which
and
is
then,
so funny because Claire, I told Claire, and she was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing."
Well, so we got them pitted, and Mike said, olives aren't pitted on the branch. I'm like, yeah, I know. And they're not stuffed with blue cheese, but that's the way that I like my olives in my martinis.
There you
so,
go.
Hello.
I'm allowed artistic expression.
They
Yes.
really are.
Yes.
Speaking of artistic expression, that we were talking about this before. Exactly, like, what is your favorite tattoo? So we kind of came to you with what we wanted.
Yeah.
What is your favorite thing to do?
Oh gosh, it's hard. Anything that's it's kind of circumstantial, because if I had to choose, like, for the rest of my life, if I could do like one thing forever, it would probably be like full color, neo-traditional, new school, kind of bold outlines. It doesn't even have to be like necessarily surrealism, because I love to like paint and draw that sort of stuff, or like animated or cartoony necessarily, but I love having like a bold outline and like variety in line weights and like a variety of color, like some action. And even in your olive branch, it's not necessarily like it's hitting a a high uppercut, like a superhero punch kind of thing, but action, it like has a line of movement and there's like a flow, like there's movement suggested into the design. I know it's going to sound like really confusing, but
No,
at any point, tell
bring
me.
it, girl. No.
I love this.
But it's just,
Yeah.
there's like a flow to it, so it's not just
Yeah.
this
The
rigid
stamp,
thing.
literal.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
has like a flow to it.
Does that have to do with like the body shape itself? I
That
mean, you
too.
have to like study that. I'm assuming like what works best.
Yeah, and
with.
like anatomically how it flows, but also like as an image, is there movement in the picture versus just like,
Yeah.
or if there's like, it's what story is it telling in the image, even if it's a still life piece? And
Yeah,
if
I
this
get
isn't
what-
making any sense.
No,
No,
it
it
is.
really
We're
is.
just
It really
intrigued. So
is.
if we're
But-
looking at you like, oh my gosh, it's because I'm kind of blown away. I mean, okay, I can't even draw like stick figures correctly.
Same.
So I'm intrigued by not only your skill, but the way your take on it. Because, of course, a tattoo artist, you want someone who has not only your skill, but just your perception.
and passion for art.
Yeah, for sure. So when we're talking about this, one of the questions that I kind of came up with is, how do you take someone's vision, right? If I come in and I conceptually have this idea and it's really meaningful to me, but I want you to do something different, quote unquote, I guess, with it. How do you take that and kind of meld your style with their concept and still make sure that you're carrying out what they want on them for the rest of their existence?
Usually so like when setting up an appointment, I'll have people like, hey, just make sure you send me ideas, or if you show me ideas, send them to me. But just let's talk about a little bit of what you want to do, just so we're on the same wavelength and the same page of what you're wanting. So it's not just like, I want a sweet dragon, but then have it be like completely off the beaten track of what you're wanting to do. But so it's like reference photos like are super important, but we'll still do our own thing with it, but still to be very specific on what you're wanting.
Yeah.
But also knowing going into the tattoo of like, here's the criteria, here's kind of what I want, but also having trust in the artist and the person, and which is kind of hard, which I totally understand, to where here's my ideas, but I want you to roll with it.
Yeah.
And have faith in the artist and
Yeah.
the person you're going to where it's not going to be 100% honestly what you're going to expect, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
So it's like, hey, I like your style, here's your work, here's your color, I've looked at your stuff, I'm going to just trust you with, here's my references, and just roll with it. And then for me, when you come in for the appointment, I'll show you what I have, but then if there's anything, by all means, like anything that you want to change, or if it's just really not speaking to you, or if there's something about it that you just want to tweak a little bit, I have no gripes against it.
You're not offended.
And it shouldn't ever be a problem, by the way, if you go to someone and they throw a
Pro
fit.
tip number one, if they design something and you don't like it and you say something and they throw a fit, find someone else.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
So it's more like, and also in a digital area where we have like the iPad and stuff where it's like a digital drawing app, that's what I use. It's like there's no reason to like, okay, I'm going to tweak this a little bit, and it shouldn't be a problem at all.
Yeah.
Everyone's a little different, but by all means, like when you come in, check it out design. If there's something you're not a fan of, you could tweak it. It's not that huge of a deal.
Right.
And then it's going on you forever.
Yeah.
Also, so yeah, it does require a little extra step to change stuff, but my God, it's
Be
on,
happy.
it's on you. And I want you to be excited about it, and also have it be something that you're proud of. Like, because I could be excited about whatever I make, but it's going on you forever.
Yeah.
Pretty well. So
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
It's
Two
important.
things with that. I
Yeah.
think like I said before, when I met Kelsey, I was going for this portrait of Chubbs, and she actually went about like kind of doing the whole thing, and I was like, it's just not speaking to me. And she was okay with, let's just go with a whole different idea.
Yeah.
So like when I said two things, that made her awesome in my eyes. And then two, in regards to just what we're talking about, the biggest thing with your tattoo artist and the client is communication.
Yes.
And I feel like it kind of lacks sometimes. Kelsey's great with it. It's just,
Aw.
you've got to be back and forth though as the client. You can't just expect magic to happen
Sure.
with your tattoo artist. So it requires the communication back and forth. And then I guess lastly I'll say with that was the you're so great about just the keeping of the appointments.
Yeah.
You'll see people, it's not just tattoo artists, it's beauticians and this, like, they're yelling at their clients to keep their appointments. And I've found it more often than not, as I
It's not
said.
reciprocated.
Yeah, but never with Kelsey, you
Yeah.
know. It's just one of those things that I've never understood about, like the tattoo, this is your job.
Yeah.
Keep your appointments.
And very important, I think, because when people, me, right? I'm like, oh, not that I have trepidation, but it's an exciting time. And to be
You've amped up for it.
Yeah, you're like, okay.
Yes.
And then if you have somebody be like, oh, it can't be done today, most likely I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm going to start
mind.
second guessing it. I'm going to start like getting in my own head.
Well, mentally preparing for
Yes.
yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned iPad, and it kind of brings me to, so I think about, where tattoos started, and Brittany has a lot of information, that I never
We'll get
would have.
into that.
Yeah. But I want to know kind of where you see tattoos going, because a lot of talk today is AI. There's a lot of talk about evolution of technologies. Where do you see the tattoo industry? I don't even like to call it an industry because it's.
But that's the right phrase for it.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
So where do you see kind of the evolution shifting to? And do you ever see AI being a part of tattooing?
Oh gosh. So,
Right? I know. See this? Yeah.
I think, where do I start? For the future of tattooing, it's incredibly competitive. And going back to, like, being very serious and on, can I say bad words or
Yeah.
no?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say, make
Yep,
sure it's
you're
okay.
good. You're good here.
Like being on top of your shit, because even when I started out in tattooing, and you can go back to where like the hardcore guys are, like the hardcore biker dudes are, which I was kind of mentored under, which is a good experience, but also like seeing where stuff came from. But in such a competitive field now, it has changed so much from when I myself have started tattooing to where you got to be on top of your game. Like, you got to be constantly learning. I don't care how good you are or how confident you are, stay humble. No matter how awesome you are at a material, medium, whatever it may be, tattooing, you can always learn something. And it's just to stay humble, because you never know what's going to come in your life, and it could set you back. But also, you need to be on top of it in such a competitive field on a modern level, especially with social media, and just, it's out there. Free education.
Yeah.
You can educate yourself. It doesn't cost nothing to just, you can learn something every single day. But if you choose not to learn that, then that's on you. Free stuff.
Yeah.
It's out there. You don't even have to pay for nothing for it.
So when you say learning, no, I'm sorry. When you say learning, I just want to get more, I kind of want to dig a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What are you learning? Is it artistic style? Is it through medium? Is it, what specifically are you looking for to increase kind of your knowledge base?
Like a technique,
Gotcha.
or even it can go down to like what kind of needle groupings you use, or even what brand, or like if you're still using a bar and tube combo or cartridges, which is what I switched to.
Yeah.
And
I say,
It's
yeah, I have no freaking
Okay, so
clue.
is bar and tube, real quick, so
Yeah.
we break it down to
Yeah.
the viewer. Is
Yeah.
bar and tube the pedal? Or what, did you start with a pedal?
I started with a pedal, but it goes down to the pedal activates your machine, and it's connected to a power source, which is connected to your machine. Well, then it's plugged into the wall. But then it goes to your machine, and I started out with hardcore, like old school coil machines. Those are the stereotypical ones that you hear that are like super loud, like the
Yep.
Yeah. That was my first tattoo.
Same.
Yeah.
But like also going down to what machines you use or what
And
brands.
now you're using a cordless one if you watch
Yes.
the video, and it's all like a handheld,
Yeah.
Yes.
which is,
And
just
it's
shows you how technology is.
Yeah, and then if you're not, and granted, I'm all for like understanding where stuff come from, or where it comes from, or like the origins of stuff, to be understanding and respecting the groundwork of where it originated, but you also need to adapt. And going back to like being on top of your game, and there's always stuff that you can learn,
Yeah.
you know? So I feel like things need to be progressive, and you need to be prepared for the world changes every day. So as cool, hardcore, respectfully, with the coil machines, as awesome as they are, you need to also adapt to modern stuff as well. So I've switched to like pen machines where you could be frowned upon, whatever, have your opinions on it, but it's so much easier on my wrist for longevity of it, and also just when it comes to consistency, like needle depth, ink flow, to make sure stuff is like consistent is the word I'm going to keep going back to where it takes a little getting used to, because it is change, but change doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. So it improves my life and it makes my work easier to do, but also to the quality I can catch up with for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Personally, I think change in this industry is like a
100%
good
necessary.
thing, like a good thing
Yeah.
too. Like you can see the tattoos evolving, and you said origin and knowing your origins. So,
Yep.
like speaking of origins, I looked up a little bit about the history. We talked about the history, some of tattooing in our video, and I guess you could say ironically, but ironically, when Ashley and I went to get the tattoos the week of, it was ScienceNews.org put out this. I think I told you about this. ScienceNews.org put out this article basically saying, I'm going to say the mummy's name wrong, but it's Otzi or Otzi.
Yep.
He was the first mummy found with tattoos.
Oh.
And for the longest time, they thought the method of tattoos was he was sliced with a knife and then soot was thrown in it.
Oh my God.
So the week that we had our tattoos done,
I'd bow out of that one.
no
but
kidding.
nope.
Yeah. The week that we had our tattoos done, some guys, I don't know, archaeologist Aaron Dieter Wolf, I don't want to give him his credit, did a study with 2 tattoo artists, and they replicated Otzi's tattoos and realized for the last 30 years the method that they've assumed what happened has been wrong. It's actually the jailhouse method is what we
Yeah.
called it. Otzi was found with a poker, and they just did the poking method of tattoos, which I thought was, I don't know, it was pretty cool that like this study happened right when we were doing this.
Yeah.
We did have this
Coincidentally.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And he had 61 tattoos. How many do you have?
I don't know. It all
No?
flows
It
together.
no
Really?
longer becomes
Yeah.
a number. Like
Really?
when it becomes a unit,
Oh,
it's like,
okay. Well, mine are definitely numbers. 'Cause
They're
just
cute
so
little
sporadic.
numbers.
Yeah, but I think it's 5. So you don't know how many tattoos you have either?
no, it's just, it's hard because like,
So
the
do you-
sleeve, do you count it as one?
I think you count however many times you sit down in a chair,
Oh God.
right?
Oh, that's
I
kind of
couldn't tell
good.
you.
I think because you're going back, right?
Maybe, I don't know, because a lot of people do the same tattoo and you're working on the same piece for
Yeah.
3-4 sessions.
I guess that's
so
true.
that doesn't count.
All right, well, I'll skip that question.
Next.
We talked about Japanese tattoo history. So my husband is a history teacher and he delves into this and the kids love it. Like they eat this
Duh.
lesson
It's
up
relatable
'cause
and
it's
cool.
The best. So just so I don't get this all wrong, I have to refer to my notes. The criminal, originally we talked about how tattoos were like for criminals, that you marked criminals. And so it gave that taboo-ish.
Or gang-related stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then it came back into style, like this is Japanese culture again, when the samurai were. It was accepted because samurai were respected. And the reason why the samurai used it was commonly on the battlefield when you were killed, your killer would chop your head off and take it back to whoever to be like, look what good I did.
Wild.
And your body was laid there, and then your armor was stripped of you because people wanted the armor. It was good samurai
Yeah, they
armor.
needed
And then
it.
your naked body was laid there and unidentifiable. So they
So it was
used
like
the
the teeth,
tattoos.
really? To help
kind
them
of.
That's cool.
And they
I
like
mean, not cool.
So
but
no, it kind of is.
Yeah.
It's that's it was acceptable.
If
Yeah.
I die.
So then,
Yeah.
like in the 1800s or late 1800s, early 1900s, Japanese culture takes on more like of a Western civilization, European civilization, and they decide tattoos are banned. They want to no longer have tattoos. I don't know if that was like the only country where tattoos are banned. When I mean banned, it was illegal at one point in time.
yeah.
And then once it became into fruition again, like people would have them this yakuza. So that's what she's talking about, like the mob or whatever.
Yeah.
They would have them, but not have them in plain sight because they knew you couldn't go to the clubs. You couldn't go to.
You have to keep them hidden.
Yeah.
I think so. I think in Japanese culture, it still is which we kind of touched on when we were getting. I think it still is a little more taboo in certain areas.
The ban lifted in 1945 after World War II, and yes, you're right. It's still kind of like out of all the countries, I mean, that would probably be one of the most taboo-ish because of the history behind it, you know, going from back to forth, whereas ours has always kind of been, I don't know, an outlaw but cool aspect. We were never, I don't know, it was never shunned upon. I mean, I guess it was at some point
like you're
in time.
either in the military or a scandalous woman.
Yeah,
you know?
right?
I don't think it was ever illegal in America.
No, but just I want to give you the antithesis of what you're talking about. So in Egypt, it was actually the mark of the wealthy and the well-to-do.
Huh.
Right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
The history of
I did a little
tattoo,
homework. Right?
history of tattoo is amazing.
And I love, and so we touched on this a little bit too, and I want your opinion because I want to know when you got into tattooing and how you've seen kind of the shift. I don't want to call it acceptance, but kind of
the growth.
the culture of it, right? Because I know when I got mine, I was 17, almost 18, I think, right? And my mom was like, I'd rather you get engaged than tattooed. And I was like, what? You dumbass.
What if I got a mole?
Right?
What if I got a freckle?
Well, and then I showed her and she was like, well, it's pretty cute. And then it became like more accepted. And then we just got our first tattoo a couple years ago together. So even within my own small circle, the acceptance has it's grown. How have you seen the culture change in the world of tattoos?
I think it's massive,
Yeah.
especially with the influence of social medias, like ultimately like internet, period, boom, like blows everything just out to where I think it's, even when I first started, it's kind of hard because in the realm of like, if you're in more of the OG hardcore, like original guys or like older than I am, there'd be a intense culture shock of it, I think, especially when it comes to styles and what you use and standards of how things are. But even from when I started out, it's way more, I don't know if accepted's the right word, but it's common.
Prevalent.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's now like an anomaly to be a person without tattoos, I think.
Yes.
Do you think it's generational?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes.
I think so too. Yeah. Which is, it's kind of cool. I mean, I'm not saying everyone older than a certain age is prudish, but I do think it lends, you know, there's always
history,
influence
though,
and influence and now, like you're saying, social media, and then you have people who are more widely certified, and the art form is actually focused on rather than
like the association with why
Yeah.
the tattoo is on you versus
Yeah.
like, I think it's cool and it's artwork versus like, I'm a sailor, so I'm going to tell my story on my arm, which is okay too.
right,
But-
or an identification for a dead body, right? So I think it just has shifted, which I'm really happy to hear. Do you think that? Okay, no, we'll go back.
Will it shift back?
No, we'll.
I think it's shifting back now.
Do you think it is
Kind of. Don't you? A little bit, maybe? I don't know.
shifting back to being more taboo?
No, I guess shifting back to like it was cool to get the tattoo, and now I see more and more people being like, it's prevalent, like she said.
Yeah.
So it's like almost more original not to.
Like I got it to hop on the bandwagon.
Gotcha.
I don't
see
know.
what
I don't
you're
know how
saying.
it's kind of
Well, like a Bobby over here who has none. I think that's kind of unheard of anymore.
And that's okay.
Yep.
No judgment.
Right. No judgment. But I do still think you'd look cool with one. So do you, okay, so talking about tattoos and, you know, people not having them, people having them, whatever, do you have people who come in and they ask for a tattoo, and whether it's their own design or they ask you for your inspiration? Let's say you have that moment where you're like, it's not for you. I don't know if you're going to like this in the future. How do you handle that? Or do you have, or
I have had to
Okay.
where it's like, I guess it's situational on the person, and if I'm going to make the list of criteria here. So it's
Yeah.
like, depends on the person. Are they a regular? Is it something that I know that'll be silly, but they aren't going to regret? Or is it like a lover's name or a child's name, or like certain stuff to where like if someone were to walk in hypothetically, it probably has happened, but maybe logged away and filed away in my brain to where
Yeah.
it's like, that didn't happen, so we're just gonna boop
Yep.
away. Like, if someone were to come in, it's like, yeah, I want my girlfriend of 2 months on my face, be like, well, I'm gonna recommend you do something else. And it's just integrity, I think, is a little bit to where, especially with just, there's so many things you could do with the art or like the piece. It's like, hey, how about maybe something more symbolic rather than the name on your face? And
Yeah.
then how about if you are so fixated or like sold on the name, then maybe like somewhere that's like smaller. Or hidden. Or something that you can potentially cover up later on, hypothetically, if something were to happen. But
you have that conversation with them, and you
I'd be like, hey, just it's also circumstantial, where I try to avoid doing any names of like a significant other. But if it's like, hey, we've been married and this, that, whatever, cool, and it's small, awesome. But
we've
I
gone through our
tried
trials
to,
and tribulations, and
yeah. But then if it's something to where, especially if they're a young person, and it's like, I'm young, but it's like, no, I'm 30 right now. To where
none of us are getting any younger, sister. Yeah.
To where if it's just straight up not a good idea, and especially if you haven't had your own experiences with a variety of tattoos, like, then here's a different idea. I'm going to recommend this because I'm looking out for you.
Yeah.
And there's so
I
many
think
people
you
that
should. I love
don't
that.
care.
That is very nice.
I love that.
But if I were your tattoo artist, I would be like, yes, get it. And we'll make it kind of small because I'm setting myself up for some business later
cover
because
up.
50% of these
I'm not
things
expecting
lead to
failure,
divorce.
but
Yeah.
it's just, if
And
it
I'll
were to
just
happen.
cover that
Well,
up.
I mean, there's probability that comes into play there as well, and you don't want to like. I'm sure you don't want to have that conversation because it can't be easy, but you have to say, I've seen this time and time again,
Yes.
and yeah. So I love that. I love the integrity you have on that. How many? Okay, do you tattoo faces and necks and?
I've done only a handful of
Okay.
them, mostly just because I haven't had a lot of people ask me.
Gotcha.
But it's also circumstantial on the thing. And I
Yeah.
know that's such a vague answer, but it's like,
No.
how many tattoos do you have? Are
Yeah.
you running
Yeah.
out of real estate? Are you super young? Are you freshly 18 out the box?
Yeah.
It's like, maybe this. Although on a modern level, especially in 2024, a lot of places don't care. Especially depending on what it is, of course. But it's just like, hey, maybe
Start
do
small.
this.
About this.
Yeah.
But
start small.
regardless, Kelsey dots her I's and crosses her T's, and you sign every paperwork. So if you do get a tattoo on your face and you hate it later, you can't sue her because
Right.
there's no regrets.
Right, no regrets.
Also,
but I
you
do-
came in here like,
Willingly, and you signed these papers.
Sure. But I think that it's interesting to think every body that you've tattooed is essentially your billboard. And I love, I think that's really freaking cool. I don't know if I've ever really thought about that, but when you said that, I was like, yeah, so you can, do you ever like walk around town and like you see people that you've tattooed and you're like, oh, hey.
it's exciting.
Oh,
Or it's
hey.
like, I'll meet people just that I've worked on over and over again. They
Yeah.
become friends, which is funny. Well, you get like, I don't know if it's like a little trauma bonding when you're getting tattooed. You're like, this sucks, but we're going to talk about
I
our
kind of
life
feel like
and my
that's where we
dog.
are.
Yeah,
I feel like we've trauma bonded because I was like, I'm sweating. It's kind of stings really bad.
Well, I mean, it's very personal. It's a
it is.
personal,
Tell me about your life.
Yeah.
Yours.
It's a very personal situation, but I mean, you call it trauma. I don't know. So we talked about it before when we were getting our tattoos, and I think it's very almost euphoric. Like it's, yeah, you get the dopamine and the endorphins going, and I think that probably creates a connection as well. I mean, I don't know you very well, but I love you now. And if I see you on the street, I'll be like, hey, girl, because you have marked my body forever. And now, my
It's a
arm.
vulnerability and trust.
Yeah, right? I love it.
I came home and I had the itch again. Like I said, I hadn't done it for 3 years. I'm like, I know where I can
Now
put the
I need
next
to-
one, and I'm going to call Kelsey.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've got it in the works, and it's ready to go.
So I do want to come back to the AI thing because it is something, I know I asked like a really long question and it was very loaded, but so artificial intelligence is everywhere. Of course, we talk about the personal aspect that comes into tattoos, but do you think that AI will ever influence or play a part in tattooing, especially in Quincy?
Partially.
Okay.
So, like when it comes to like going back to social media on the internet, but with that being prevalent on internet-based social medias, etc. There's already images out there. I'm going to trail back for a second. So
Sure.
it's going to
No,
go
go
out
for
and
it.
we're going to come back in.
Yep.
To where AI images, people already believe certain things that's created by AI without really researching into it or be able to spot like that's not real.
Yeah.
So people will have these expectations of, and I've already started seeing it when it comes to like, of course, the art world's already affected by it, but when it comes to like the tattooing realm, to where someone has created like an AI image of like a hypothetical piece, or it's like, here's a tattoo, and it makes me so mad because it just makes it such a unrealistic expectation of what things are going to look like, but also like that's not real, to where someone or people have generated this image and it's like on someone's arm, but it's not a real tattoo or picture.
Gotcha.
So when I say they, like people,
Superimposed
yeah,
or-
and they
yeah.
think it's like, oh my God, it's so detailed and just so, soft or whatever it is, but it's not a real picture. So then people have this expectation of, oh, that's what it's going to look like. It's like, no, that's just a fake image hyperimposed on someone's arm. And you could do something similar to it, but that expectation of having it be that, like,
Flawless.
Yeah.
and then it's not there. So then people are like, I want this thing. It's like, well,
It's like when I look at swimsuits and I'm like, ooh, that's cute. And then I get it, I'm like, son of a bitch.
like, never mind.
Yeah, no, that's not what it looked like. But anyway, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And
Yeah.
that was pretty much it. That's just pretty well it, to where it's like conceptual of what something can look like, or people are like, hey, I created this thing on an arm, and then people think it's real.
Yeah. So
And
it's
then-
kind of it's an insult. AI is an insult to your art form.
Yeah.
Kind
period.
of.
Also, just with art, period, it's not an art form. Also,
Right.
art is categorized in the dictionary by human experience and creation, just to let you know. Look it up.
Love it. See?
So it's an
That's pretty good.
artificial generated image.
Yeah.
It's not an art form. It's
Yeah.
a concept. It's a generation to generate.
Yeah.
Something to generate a concept is an art? No, because it also steals actual art on the internet from people who've created stuff. So no, it's not artwork because it's just an amalgamation of coincidental ones and zeros to make a picture of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Mike, drop.
Interesting. Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, that was good.
So, outside of anyone bringing in artificial intelligence, like ideas or whatever, have you ever had any tattoos that you regret, or something that gives you the ick? Okay, so that's kind of a two-part question. So, any tattoos that you've regretted doing?
Not necessarily. There's ones where like, oh, maybe I could have done better
Yeah.
than that. But I also feel like that's a progression.
That
And
makes
so
you a
look
good
back
artist.
and you're like,
Yeah.
maybe I could do this next time. But that's just art form in general, to where it's like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this instead. Or if something healed in a different way, or
Yeah.
using different pigments, different color choices, etc. There has been works, but that's also, I try not to be too hard on myself just as progress goes.
Yeah.
To where there's like, man, I could have done better on that.
Good for you. That I like the
Hashtag stay humble.
There you go, right? Yes, absolutely. Okay, so then icks. Any and we don't have to call anybody out by name or be
here we
super
go.
specific.
The tea.
right. So, okay, when you
Ready.
go in and a client comes in, what's your biggest ick with a client? If it's they're on their phone the whole time, or what are some things if you are
Or
going
they
to
come in with a camera person and
right?
they-
Yeah, yeah.
that's
Like, let's go. You're right. Yeah. So, what is kind of something that you're like, oh,
Like a red flag for me and a client.
it can be that, or it can be something that you just hate. Like it can be, something that happens all the time that you're like, I wish I could just say this shouldn't happen.
That's a good question. It doesn't happen a whole lot, but I guess just being respectful in the environment you're in. But that should be anywhere. So, like, if you're being loud and obnoxious, and honestly, in my paperwork, when you fill it out, it says at any point we can be like, I don't know if you guys read it.
Yep.
It's
I
if
did.
you're being just disrespectful. And then, because it's not just me working, it's everyone else too, and we have to focus. We got to be in our mindset to where it's just, if you're being disrespectful, just loud and obnoxious, and not many people have been that way, but on the occasion, it's like, hey, like, I know this is not feeling great, and I know you're probably not having a good time, but while we're tattooing, it's like, you're going to have to tone it down a
Put a
little.
sock in it.
Like, respectfully, it's like, you need to
Shut the fuck up.
Shut the
Yeah,
fuck
it's
up.
a private. I like it. It's a private business. You're a business owner. That's one of the best parts about owning a business is you have the right to refuse service to
I have another one.
anyone.
That just popped up.
Yes, please.
Okay. Everyone's allowed their. Is this allowed to be taught? Can I be adult for a second?
Yes.
I just don't want to be like, oh, this, and you're like,
No.
leave it out. If someone's allowed their own kinks and stuff on their own time, but this applies to everybody. Like, please don't do this to anybody, especially me, because it's ew. If you're allowed your own kinks, your own whatever it is, pain, however you handle it, cool. But if it comes to like a sexual level, please, for the love of God, keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Or
I
it's
can
like,
only imagine.
yes, talk to me. It's like, no,
my
like,
God.
it's only
I didn't
happened
even
a few
think about
times,
that.
but it's like, or they get like super inappropriate. It's like, okay, I'm just here to,
I'm doing my job.
I'm just doing my job. Can you please, you can, sorry, I didn't mean to pop you. It's like, you can, whatever, when you get to that car outside and
Yeah.
that parking lot, be like, oh yeah, sweet release.
Yes.
But then just please keep it to yourself, because
Yeah.
it's just awkward. It's like, I'm just here to do my job.
You're in your
I get nothing
workplace.
out of it.
Yeah, if anybody comes into our workplace here in Muddy River and,
And was
It's
doing
almost
that?
sexual.
Yeah.
It's actually sexual. It's like a level of almost sexual harassment.
Well, for
Yes.
sure.
Inappropriate.
but I
For
didn't even think
sure.
about the level of pleasure that people.
Some people
Yeah.
do. It's like,
Yeah.
it's cool, but keep it to yourself, please.
Yeah.
Please keep it to yourself. If cool, go you. But
Do you ever have anybody be like, "Oh, you that line should be"? Are they like watching you while you're doing it, like instructing you on how to do what you're doing?
not really.
Good.
Like sometimes it's like, hey, like especially when we like wipe it or clean it up, it's like, hey, take a look at the mirror, see if if there's anything that you see.
Sure.
Let me know. And if there is something that's like, hey, this little line here, it's not a problem. It's
Yeah.
like whatever.
Gotcha.
And then we're done.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I could never be a tattoo artist. I have the utmost respect for you, for the art
Aw.
form. Again, I loved our experience. I think, it was one of my better experiences. It's always going to be a memory. And, David Adam asked if anybody ever has any regrets about tattoos. I think it depends on the circumstance, like you said. I've never regretted any.
I've regretted some, but I've covered them up.
There you go.
And fixed them.
Yeah,
And fixed them.
Respectfully.
You.
Yes.
Yes. So, Kelsey, it has been my pleasure. I know it's.
I loved this. Thank
Yeah.
you. This has
Aw.
been
Thank
this has
you.
obviously been my cup of tea.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're welcome back anytime, and
Yes.
thank you again for
thank
everything
you.
you've done.
And I'll
let
be
me know.
calling you soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let me know.
Yeah,
Either
right?
way, either the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, you're good.
I get all excited. I'm
No,
sorry.
you're
Either
good.
podcast or tattoo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Kelsey, thank you so much. Visit Ramshorn
Body Art and Studio.
For all of your body art and tattoo needs. They are amazing out there.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right.